Hello friends, welcome back to Gardening Mindfully. Thank you so very much for joining me today. You may have noticed that I uploaded a short where I talked about a sunspot on my watermelon. I'm going to harvest a couple more watermelons today and I will show you the difference between a sunspot and also a ground spot. Let's go ahead and harvest these watermelons and we'll talk about the difference between a sunspot and a ground spot right after this. Summertime in Georgia means hot, humid temperatures and sweet, juicy watermelon ripening on the vine. Since moving here, I've caught the bug and I have been growing watermelon. Here you'll see me in my patch of Jubilee watermelon that I started in a raised garden bed. Watermelons need a lot of space to grow. They are vining plants and their vines need room to sprawl. Here you'll notice that my Jubilee watermelon vines are sprawling along the ground. Now, watermelon can be trellised, but with the size of these melons, it's best that they're left to sprawl along the ground. When it comes to light, watermelons are hot weather plants, which means they need at least 8 hours of full or direct sunlight daily. Now let's go ahead and harvest this watermelon. Now you will notice that this watermelon is much smaller than the one that I harvested earlier, and it also has a huge sunspot. The soil in my raised garden bed is a well-draining soil, which is ideal for growing watermelon. So here's the sunspot. And this is the ground spot. Here are both watermelons that I just harvested side by side. The smaller watermelon with the huge sunspot came in at 12 pounds. The larger watermelon came in at 30.5 pounds. Now you might be wondering, with that huge sunspot, is that watermelon edible? Yes, the watermelon is edible. The rind was firm, it was not soft and squishy. And what happened is, once I realized that the watermelon got a sunburn, I very quickly covered the remaining watermelons. So if you notice, the larger watermelon does have a slight sunburn. But what happened was I covered that watermelon with shade cloth. And so it prevented it from being burnt anymore. The side of the watermelon that you're looking at now is called the ground spot. The ground spot is the pale spot on the underside of the watermelon that touches the ground. It is often called the belly spot. The ground spot changes color from white to a creamy yellow or even a buttery yellow when the watermelon is ripe. So that's one way to tell when your watermelon is ripe. What is the color of your ground spot? Is it a buttery yellow? Is it still white? So if it changes color from white to a creamy yellow or a buttery yellow, your watermelon is said to be ripe. Direct sunlight is crucial for watermelon growth. As a matter of fact, your watermelon needs 8 to 10 hours of direct sunlight daily. However, the key is balance, as too much or too little sunlight will affect the quality of your watermelon. The main reason for your watermelon to get sunburned is a lack of foliage or leaves on the watermelon vine. Not having enough leaves on the watermelon vine will expose your watermelon to extremely hot temperatures. When that happens, the internal temperature of your watermelon can get as high as 120 degrees Fahrenheit. As a result, some of the cells in the rind of your watermelon will die, and it will show up as a sunspot. When your watermelon gets sunburned, three things will happen. 1. The rind will have a yellow blotch or spot. 2. The watermelon will mature early. And 3. The watermelon will not get to the size that you would expect. Here is a watermelon that I had harvested that was also sunburned. And you can clearly see that I thoroughly enjoyed it. So as long as the watermelon is not soft and squishy, even though it was sunburned, it is very edible. So as I mentioned before, the sunspot is when your watermelon is exposed to extremely warm temperatures. So for us here in zone 8A in Georgia, we've had days of over 90 degrees for multiple days in a row. So if your watermelon is exposed to sun directly and the temperatures are extremely high, it will cause the rind to burn. And so basically what happens is the watermelon will heat up to about 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and that causes some of the cells in the rind to die. And when that happens, it causes this spot that's called a sunspot. It's also sun scalding or sunburn. If you flip it over, this is called a ground spot. So a ground spot is the spot where the watermelon was resting on the ground. The ground spot is generally like a whitish, creamish yellow in color. And generally one way to tell when your watermelon is ripe is when the color of the ground spot is more creamy yellow as opposed to white. Sunspot, ground spot. Thank you so very much for watching. If you have not yet subscribed, we hope you'll subscribe to the channel. And if you are a subscriber, I thank you so very much. I have been having a wonderful time here on this channel, and I really do appreciate you guys following along. Until the next video, remember to garden mindfully. Bye for now.